It's a 2017 Honda CR-V. It's actually my wife's car. And we're going to be doing what's called the B16 or B16 maintenance service for this vehicle. Little light came up on the dashboard. Warnings, blinkers, indicators, bells, whistles, whatever. Just letting us know that the vehicle's in need of service. It's actually 209 miles, believe it or not, over the service, because on this particular vehicle, it gives you a time frame, 10% oil change life, 5% oil change life, and for some strange reason I was waiting for it to say, okay, time to change your oil, but instead it just went, now you're beyond your maintenance. So, so when you see 5%, just get it done, because it's not going to go to 0 and say, hey, it's time now. It just goes to, I guess, technically 0 and says, now you're overdue. So we're going to go ahead and take care of a couple of those things on that list. We'll go into the computer on that on-screen touchscreen. I think they call it the infotainment center or something like that. We'll go through the list and I'll show you what needs to be done. So on this vehicle, it's a 2017. We're in 2018. My wife has only had the vehicle for under 2 years, so like a year and a half or something like that. So what I did is I checked the antifreeze. This is an OEM Tools antifreeze tester, and it basically just gives you the levels of protection that your antifreeze can provide for your engine and components. So, and obviously this passed with flying colors, and it was like, I flushed it out with water, so that wasn't antifreeze, but obviously it passed with flying colors. It's actually a vehicle outside that I'm going to want to test with this. Let's get into it on this episode of What's Up Guy Garage. And you can see right there, maintenance past due 209 miles. We're going to go to home. Going to swipe over, go to settings, vehicle, which is like the gear icon with the little car. We're going to scroll all the way down to maintenance info. And you can see it's negative 209 miles B16 or B16. Oil and filter, tire rotation, all-wheel drive oil. And there's actually a special kind of lubricant or oil that's used for that particular rear end. So go ahead and shut that off. Exit your vehicle. This vehicle also has the Hikari LEDs. You can probably hear them buzzing away right there. And yeah, those things are absolutely bright. Perfect cutoff because it does have the projector style lenses. So on this vehicle, because if we were going to do an oil change, we'd just jack up the front. But because it has that number 1 in that B16, that means we have to do a tire rotation. And that diagram right there that you can see, so first thing we're going to do is jack this vehicle up on all 4 corners. You got to stand right over my face, don't you? You got to literally be like right on me. Easy, honey. You're killing me here. You're all killing me. What are you doing? Right. Yes, I know. All right, you don't have to claw my head. Come on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this camera now just to get you an idea of what we're looking at here. So basically what I do is I put the jack stand in kind of like this location right here. See, she's kind of like me right in your face. Yes, I know, honey. Yes, I know. Okay. Yes, I love you, yes. Yes, I know. I don't want kisses. I know. Just let me do what I gotta do, honey. Watch out. You see, these jack stands have like a lock, and then what I do is once that's locked down, I apply just a little bit of pressure back on it and everything's nice and tight. Now underneath the vehicle we've got like what looks like a carrier housing, and there's like a centerpiece right there. I'm going to go ahead and try to get the jack into that location right there. Good and centered on that. Looks pretty good. You can see kind of like that line of sight all the way through the front. And we're completely, all four wheels are jacked up off the ground. Now what we're gonna need, gonna use my impact gun, 19 millimeter socket on the end there. So this tire is actually going over to that back corner. And then this tire that's on this back, this one right here is going to go to the front. While you're right here, you might as well go ahead and check the brakes, because there's the pads right there, and you can still see a nice tapered angle on both of those pads. And then go ahead and check the rear, and the rear are basically going to be the same. I mean, this car doesn't have much for mileage on it, but while you're here, rotor looks nice. Yeah, see? Plenty of life on those pads, no issue. So we've got 65, 75, 80, boom. Grab this one right here. Astro pneumatic, 80 foot-pound torque stick, and this is the one that I'm going to use. Foot-pounds. Good to go. Now I'm just going to head over to the other side and do the reverse operation, or the same operation on this side. I don't want her ears to hear what I'm doing. Front's all set. Now we'll just go to the rear, and the tires have been rotated. Tires rotated. 2017 Honda CR-V. So anyways, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the B portion. So we already took care of number one. Now we're going to do the B portion, and that's changing the oil and filter, and that's really easy. For the Honda CR-V, there's actually like protection or a skid plate that protects basically the underbelly of the car and the engine area, and it basically keeps like contaminants, I think, from splashing up and under and getting all over in the engine compartment, and just provides like that extra layer of protection. But you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver, and I forget what the other one is. You might need a Phillips and or a regular. So I know you're going to need a Phillips. So we'll set this up so you can see. So this is that drain pan that I was talking about that you've got to take off. And then I love my cardboard, so just using cardboard. Cardboard. Have yourself some coffee. It's cold. My toolbox video has about as many views as one day of one of your videos. It could be your snork one. It's just a friend of mine. We're chatting. His channel's Joe Daddy's Garage. He's got some awesome content out there. And actually, what he's doing is he's created a new channel. It's called What's Up. No, I'm sorry. That's my channel. It's called Joe Daddy's Workshop. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out. Alright. So we get under here. And so those fasteners that I was talking about, they are these right here, and they are Phillips. So you've got the regular right there, right across the front, where it connects with this plastic air dam. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the metal pan itself, regular screwdriver of 1, 2, 3, center one 4, and that's going to be another Phillips, and then 5, 6, 7, just to go ahead and take off to gain access to this cover or shield. Get one of my Braun lights here, just to illuminate the situation. So I'm going to go after this back one first. That's the center one, and it's a Phillips. And this one back here, what I will say is this one ends up being fairly tight. So believe it or not, so the first time I actually did an oil change on this vehicle, I actually had to use an impact screwdriver, or an impact, whatever it was. So on these, you basically just want to give it like, I think it's basically like a quarter turn. And just don't lose anything. Just keep all your fasteners kind of like in a single location. Yeah. Yeah. Come up and grab this one. This one way over here. And what's kind of cool, so one of the things you should pay attention to is go ahead and, is that right? Actually, those 2 end fasteners I don't think need to be done. I don't remember. Yeah. Alright, so no, I lied. So those 2 end fasteners, these ones, so that fastener right there, that actually doesn't have to come off. So you can scratch 2 out of that 11. So you're actually taking out only 9 fasteners. But then this gives you like a view of the underbelly of the car. And the bolt that we're actually going after right now is that one right there. And there's the oil filter. So the oil filter location, it's pretty obvious where it is. Right next to the exhaust. Make sure you're draining, not that bolt. Don't touch that. That's actually for the transmission. We're not doing anything with the transmission. So just take all your fasteners. Should have 9 of them. Keep them all together. Put them out of the way. And then grab yourself a drain pan. So now, because you are going to be dealing with oil, which stuff is technically known to cause cancer, you're not going to eat it or drink it, but just go ahead and throw yourself on some gloves. Just protect your hands. It also just helps with the cleanup process, but it's definitely the smarter way. So gloves, like a surgeon. Use the Braun Awesome Light. Grab out a 17. Hey, look at that. Now you just want to make sure that you're actually turning this the right way. So like it's that lefty loosey, righty tighty kind of thing, but it's also that clockwise, counterclockwise. But you want to make sure, or remember that you're backwards. At least I am on this. So when I turn this out, I'm actually going to want to go clockwise. Well, clockwise to me is loosening it, not tightening it. To recording it, shut off. Nice and yummy looking. Now, see what happens sometimes if you don't have gloves on, this is what you get all over your hands. And that is no bueno, or it's not mint. Make sure to check your oil. Looking good, draining nice. Now, while that's still draining, I'm going to slide this forward, and I'm actually going to go after the oil filter at the same time. And that should be able to just get two hands on there. Like that. There we go. And usually I'll just crack it free and kind of let it do its thing, let it drain out. So you got basically you got both things draining at the same time. Oil filter right there draining, drain plug draining. And the other thing you want to make sure you do is go ahead and grab a brand new crush washer. And I've got a whole bag of those. So these ones are from Mission Automotive, and there's the crush washer, brand new. Make sure, I mean, for the amount of money, I think this is what? This is a bag of 20. I think I paid like 10 bucks for it. So, I mean, you're going to have it forever. Well, unless you do like a lot of oil changes. So, and for me, I actually do a few oil changes. So, crush washer for that vehicle. I've actually got a bunch of other sizes. So, we're looking pretty good. Everything's draining nice. Brand new crush washer right there. Grab your bolt, clean that off. Looking good. So one of the things to do too while you're here is always check like for glitter, which there isn't gonna be, but so we're not seeing any form of glitter or anything on there. Oil's just dirty, which is a good thing. All right. So just be prepared to kind of catch it. So you're going to spin it, and then all of a sudden it's just going to let loose like that. And then just go ahead and drain it into an oil pan. Right there. Oh, right there, I like it. Go ahead and grab yourself some fresh paper towels, because now what you're going to do is you're going to start cleaning up like the areas where the oil filter came off, because obviously it's going to leak oil everywhere, and you want to clean off those surfaces. Make sure there's no sand, grit, or anything that's going to get inside the engine, inside this little oil filter cavity. Just do your best. So, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give this a quick little wipe. It's going to still drain out, but just like that. Grab your brand new, hopefully this focuses on there, grab your brand new crush washer, throw that on there, and then go ahead and reinstall your bolt. And once you get a couple of threads in there, basically should stop the oil from leaking out. Crank it down. And then this is only aluminum. So we're not going for, like I say, Arnold Schwarzenegger strength here. Just want to tighten it. Like that. And that little washer will crush and create a nice seal. Now go into my stock. Go ahead and grab my oil. We'll go ahead and grab brand new. So for the Honda CR-V, it takes this oil right here, 0W20, and then for the oil filter, I'm going ahead and going with a K&N, and that is what? HP 1010, and that's for the 2017 Honda CR-V with the 1.5 turbo Earth Dreams engine. Which, for this one right here, which is the 1.5 liter, located right there, that vehicle with a filter takes 3.7 quarts, so it's kind of like an odd number, but we went ahead and you always get just the 5-quart jug, and it does give you kind of like an indication of liters on one side, quarts on the other side, so we're going to make sure that basically our level is going to be right about there, because then that's, you know, you go 1, 2, 3.7. And I'm using the K&N filter. So when I've done this, make sure your hands are clean. Again, this is the way that I've always done it. Open up your oil. I have always poured a little bit of my fresh oil into my filter just to get it started. And that, to me, just kind of made it feel like it wasn't going to be a dry start. And then take a clean finger and then lubricate the top of this seal all the way around. And that way, when you go to put it on, you're not going to bind up that little rubber gasket or whatever it's made out of. Always put your cover back on when not in use. That way nothing's going to go inside and you have less of a chance of kind of like tipping it over. So what's cool about the K&Ns is they do give you one of those, but we're not going to need that, so. Yeah, you can see it like that. Just make sure it's cleaned off under there. Looks like some of it has kind of leaked as we kind of waited. Just clean it off the best you can. Just go ahead and take your new one and screw it on. Now basically you're going to get to a point of where you can feel the gasket contact. When the gasket contacts, what I've always done is I give it half a turn. To me, always felt actually really good, maybe 3/4 of a turn. You don't want to crush that gasket. Okay, your oil fill, which is right here. And then while you're there, go ahead and take your dipstick out. Totally clean it off. Focus. So we're going to leave that in there now. It's cleaned off. And do our cap. And remember, we're only doing 3.7 quarts, so we're not going to fully empty this. If you did, that would be bad. And just kind of periodically check. Make sure you're at a good level. You don't want to overfill it. Right there to me. That's about that 3.7 kind of, whoops, can't even see it. So that to me, that's about the 3.7 level. You can actually see it right there, but we're going to verify that right now. Take the dipstick out. Looks like we're right in the range of where we need that to be. So it's all cleaned off. It's kind of weird because there's no indication marks on this. They basically want the oil to kind of like just be in the range of this right here. Check it real quick. And we're right there. We're exactly where that needs to be. And you can always check it later once the engine's running. So we're all cleaned off. Take that dipstick, shove that back in there. Again, do what you can to kind of keep things covered. Like, don't leave, things open too long, because there's always a chance that some kind of contaminants can get in there, sand or whatever. Especially like if you're doing this outside and the wind's blowing. Doing it outside and the wind's blowing, there's more of a chance of like stuff getting into places where you don't want it to get into, and that's the engine. So this pan has like it's like a hook. Show you that hook. It's like a plastic hook right there that kind of just helps keeping the pan attached while you take all the fasteners out. So it just makes it easier. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go after that center back one first, which is this one right here. And these like little quarter turn clips. If I just turn this up or something, I don't know. Just stick it right there. You feel it. It's just like a little quarter turn. No more fasteners left. Good to go. Get all the fasteners in place. Like I said, I started off with that one that's towards the back center because it is easier to put that one on first. And there's basically the center jacking point as well for this vehicle. That's what I use to jack up this whole front end when I'm doing an oil change. You can see Haley's got her little home under here. Hey Haley, what you doing? I like to always keep these lights on charge, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip that over, and that one's all ready to go. I can unplug that for now. Now, if you thought doing the oil change was easy, wait till you see how easy it is to do the rear diff. So when doing the rear diff, you're actually going to need two different sizes of crush gaskets or crush washers. And one's going to be the 20 millimeter size, and that's obviously inner diameter. And then the other one's going to be the 18 millimeter size, again, inside diameter. We're only dealing with just shy of 2 quarts, but you need 2 quarts. So get yourself 2 quarts of this fluid right here. So this is the Honda dual pump fluid too. You're also going to need one of these. And this is a fluid transfer pump. And this is actually designed for quart jugs. It actually screws onto the top of a quart jug. And it's got a tube long enough to basically go all the way down to the bottom. The other thing you're going to need is my flex head long reach 3/8 drive ratchet, and it's just because it's going to be easier. I recommend using a ratchet instead of using a breaker bar, because when using a breaker bar, you might only be able to put it in a couple of different locations, and you might not have the room for it. So we'll go and check that out right now. So if you're looking at the back of the vehicle, this is actually the rear end, or rear diff. When you look at these little points like right here, so obviously the lowest point is going to be the drain, and then when you look on the other side, the higher point is going to be the fill, which is that right there. And it may look like it's tough to get into, but a square drive ratchet 3/8 can definitely get into there. We're going to take our 3/8 drive ratchet, we're going to stick it into the hole, and we're going to crack it loose. And now you should be able to just twist it by hand. Now, one of the things that was kind of maybe in question was, can you mix automotive oil with Gear Lube? And For my particular case, you actually can. And if you do look it up online, or maybe even contact your local recycling facility, you can ask them what to do with it. And they'll basically tell you that, you can either, bring it to the recycling area. They'll tell you whether if you can keep things, or whether if you have to keep things separate, or if you can combine things. But fortunately for us, we can actually combine ours. So we're going to loosen this up. There we go. And when you look on here, you can actually see there's a magnet attached to the very end of this, and we're going to check that. There may be a little bit of glitter on it, or gunk, but that's going to be normal for break-in procedure. But you can see the color of the fluid is definitely a different color fluid than what you're used to. It's similar to transmission fluid, but it definitely seems to be more viscous. Almost like, you know what it's almost like? It's almost like brake fluid. But we're going to leave that in there. Let that drain out. It has a nice smell to it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of like clean this on camera. See what it looks like. And if there's any stuff that comes off on this, this is totally normal. It's not too bad. There is a little bit of gunk on there, but like I said, that's kind of normal because that's like that break-in. And the reason why they have that magnet on there is to be able to catch that material. So we'll go ahead and clean this plug up nice. And take the crush washer off. Now this side is actually going to be, so I'll show you. So when you look at these two washers, the back one is the original, the front one is the brand new one. You can reuse a crush washer. You have to basically take into consideration what it actually looks like. But I'm going to use a brand new one because I've got them anyway. So install your crush washer. Onto your drain plug. And like I said, just make sure that's nice and clean. Then while that's draining, we'll go ahead and go to the other side and we'll break the fill hole loose at the same time. Now for this, the way I'm going to know whether if I've put enough fluid in it or not is when I do this, I'll basically pump one full quart into it, and then as I'm pumping the remaining quart into it, I'll basically wait until it starts to just weep through the end there, and that's when you know when to quit. So I took the crush washer off. So here's the original right here. And here's the brand new one. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to set those crush washers aside. But when I take the brand new one, stick the brand new one on there, and just place it down. Now you don't have to wait until that's completely done dripping out. At any time you can, go ahead and put that new one back in. But do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how easy this stuff is? one of those things where, you know, I always say, don't be scared. Because don't be. Now we'll come over on this side. I'll show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to kind of leave the pan there. Just make sure you clean up any of this stuff here, any oil that maybe have leaked or whatever. Take a new bottle of fluid, your dual pump fluid tube. Take your little pump, stick it in there, crank it down. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take the hose, stick the hose right in there, and I'm going to pump the entire quart of fluid into that hole. Now, obviously, a dealership has different methods of doing this. They're not doing it manually like I am. But this works. Look at how nice and clean that fluid is going in there. Like I said, it almost has like a brake fluid feel or consistency. And it's just got a slight color tone to it. It's like, kind of like I say, almost like a champagne color. We're almost at the end there. I think this is probably the part that takes the most amount of time and effort on doing this fluid, is if you didn't have a pump that fed it, you know, like an electric pump, then you're going to be using like a pump like this. And this literally probably takes more time to do than doing any other part. I mean, gosh, probably just doing even the oil change is faster than doing this. See, we're almost done with this whole quart. Now I'm going to tip the bottle kind of to that end there, just so I can get all of it out. There you go. Kind of get in there. That's it. So that's for that one. Now we'll do is we'll go ahead and get the other one all set up. Bye. Was that Mom?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Even our cat likes to... Hi, Indy. What are you doing? Oh, you have to go away. So anyways, and obviously one of the things that you can always check is you check the manual, and the manual basically gives you what's called capacities. And one of the things that I thought was kind of funny was that just about every manual that I've ever looked at, it's actually called capacities when you actually look in the back of the manual, which is where usually like the index is. In this vehicle, in that manual, there is no such thing as capacities. So, but it does give you a fluid, like a fluid chart. Basically pump it until it just starts to weep out of the end there. And what's nice is, like I said, you know, when you look at the back of this, it does have like a little sight window. And what we'll go down to is once we get down to that third on this bottle, we will then just, you know, pump it easy. So just gonna pump it down until it gets down to that third point. And then once I start seeing the fluid kind of like ooze out of that area where the threads are, see if I can maybe get the camera a little bit closer so you can see it happen. maybe on camera, I think. I don't know. Watch it ooze all over my camera. You can see that. Can I zoom in? Yes, I can. So we are zoomed in. And I'm pumping it slow now, because I'm at about a quarter. Coming down to that third. Like I said, I'm just going to pump it until I just start to see it come out of that hole. I don't see anything yet. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave this right here. I'm going to get my Braun welding torch light. Because I think having this light will definitely brighten up things a little bit better than what we're seeing right now. So, let's put that just like... It's not helping any. Does that help? Yeah. Much better. So you can see where... Well, actually you can't. We're at the third mark now, just about. And it did say 1.37, so... There we go. Boom. So that was that point. It was literally at the 0.37 mark, too. So that's actually good. So go ahead and now grab your plug. And I'm going to zoom back out, I think. Where is it? Zoom out. Go ahead and install that plug in there. I will say one thing about this. For a differential fluid, this actually smells pretty good. I know that kind of sounds weird, but man, usually like diff fluid is nasty smelling. You know when you're coming across diff fluid. But this actually has a nice smell to it. And then just make sure you just always clean up your affected areas, you know. So while you're under here, okay, just like with any vehicle, you always basically check the condition of everything. So you want to check your struts or your shocks. You want to check like your brake lines. Look at obviously the calipers. On a vehicle like this, you obviously want to check the condition of these boots. Make sure they're not cracked or open or anything like that. Make sure there's no like... Make sure there's like no obvious like leaks or anything that kind of just doesn't look right. You know, it's just kind of like part of that, kind of like, I guess, part of that maintenance of looking at a vehicle. And the underneath of this vehicle, I mean, like I expected, it looks absolutely beautiful. So, I already checked the boot on that side, checked the brake lines. That boot looks absolutely mint. That one does as well. Just things look good. So... So like I was saying, I mean, that's how easy it is to change out the differential fluid on a 2017 Honda CR-V. Torque specs for the rear differential, they seem to vary. So what I did is I ended up just setting my wrench to 33 foot-pounds because it seems like the consensus says that that's about what the ranges. So I've seen 35, I've seen 33, so I'm going to go ahead and go with 33. I got the wrench set at 33 right now, and I literally got just a squeak out of that bolt just by doing it by hand. And I mean, I've done things like this for a number of years. So now we're going to go ahead and attack this side right here. I'll switch the light to this side so you can see what's going on. So like I said, I've got it set to 33. We'll see what this one ended up being. So you see, I got a little bit of a squeak more out of this one, and it just clicked. So, I mean, we got like, what, an eighth of a turn, if that? So, we were pretty close. So I guess this is one of the things that's kind of cool about having that TV in the garage. So as I'm working on the CRV, got the game going in the background. Nice. So we're going to go ahead and check that Serpentine Belt. So basically what you're looking for is you're looking for any obvious signs of cracks in that belt. So it's looking in really good shape down in here, and you're looking at the inside of the belt, like you're looking basically at the grooves. So, and from what I can see, they're actually looking pretty good. And I mean, I really wasn't worried about it. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and check the air filter. And this is the air filter right here. So what I'm seeing, it's probably going to be 8mm. So the bolts for the actual air cleaner. So you've got on the front side, left side you've got one, it's an 8mm. Right side it's got another. The back side, it's got one on this right corner, and then right down there on that corner too. This is where one of those nice Milwaukee 1/4-inch drive ratchets would come in handy, but this is fine. This is what I'm used to. Yep, completely loose. And you can go ahead and pluck out that little air filter. Look inside the box. So when you look inside the box, everything looks nice and clean in there. Figure that's where the actual air comes from. It goes into that intake, down around that back side, in through that hole right there. See that hole right there? Goes in there, and basically comes inside, and it looks nice and clean in there. So now you go ahead and take the air filter, and it is dirty, but my experience has been, take a light and you shine the light, and you can get an idea of how clean the filter actually is, and you can see that it's actually pretty clean. I actually will end up probably ordering one of those K&N air filters for this car, but we're going to go ahead and just install that back. Filter looks fine. So when you put the air filter back, make sure that little tab facing forward. I mean, it won't go in any other way, but just kind of, I guess, saves you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, just like how you would do lug nuts, I'm going to go for a back corner, just snug it. Go to the opposite front corner, snug that down. Back opposite corner, just snug it. Just so you know everything's seated. And then grab your last corner here, snug that down. Now I'm going to give this a tweak. Back corner. Give that a tweak. Other back corner. Tweak. Last front corner. Done. So now, for this particular service on this car, what we went through, I'll give an itemized kind of list of things. So kind of a list of things that we went through on this 2017 Honda CR-V. It threw a code, or at least it had like a maintenance info code. It was called B16 or B16. People sometimes just call it B16 because it's easier to say. So the B stood for just doing an oil change. So boom, we did an oil change on the car. So B stood for an oil change. The 1 stands for tire rotation. We did that. I'll put right here, again, what that, looks like. And then the next thing that we did was we did a all-wheel drive service, which basically what that was changing the fluid in the rear differential, which here's a little clip to that. Then I'll show you the other things that we went through for working on this car. Get my flashlight. We checked the air filter, which basically we just took that out. We checked the fluid level for the brake fluid. We checked the fluid level for the antifreeze, which is right there. And I actually performed an antifreeze check just to see what the condition of the antifreeze fluid was. We also topped off the windshield washer fluid. We checked the condition of the Serpentine Belt, which is actually this right here. So we checked the condition of this belt. For the amount of miles that this car has on it, I didn't expect there to be any kind of an issue. We checked the brake linings, which is basically checking the brake pads. So we checked the condition of the brake pads, and again, condition of this vehicle doesn't have many miles on it. Brake pads are like at 75%, maybe even more. We went ahead and checked the CV boots on all 4 corners. So when you check those boots, you have to remember you're checking both inside and outside. And so that's a total of 8 boots that you have to check on this particular vehicle because this is an all-wheel drive. General other things that you check, you just want to check the struts, make sure there's nothing leaking. Check the rear shocks because this vehicle has struts up front and shock and spring out back. But just basically, if you see something leaking, check it out. It could be just water splashed up through a puddle or whatever, but it's just a number of things that we checked on the vehicle. Rotors look like they're in good shape. There's no pulsing or anything like as far as drivability is concerned. We're not getting any funny noises, any weird smells. It's just basically giving the car just an overall general check. But, I hope this helped you out. So that was for the B16 or B16. Now what we're going to do is, you can hear Indy. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go inside the car. We're going to clear out the infotainment system and clear out those codes. And like I said, it was set at 209 miles over the scheduled service, which is fine. It's not a big deal. So I got the game going, got the infotainment system going. Hit OK. Vehicle. Maintenance info. And you want to select reset items. So it says right here, all items due. Click all due items. Would you like to reset maintenance information, oil life to 100%? Yes, reset. So now maintenance information has been reset. So hope you enjoyed watching this episode of What's Up Guy Garage. Just doing some maintenance on a 2017 Honda CR-V. It's called the B16. And remember, when you're changing your oil and you're changing your rear diff fluid, to go ahead and replace those little crush washers. They cost next to nothing, and it's just good insurance. Can you reuse them? Of course you can, but they're called crush washers for a reason. So for the amount of money that it costs to replace them, get yourself a bag of 10 and you're good to go. I've got bags of like 10 and 20, so it's been fun. Thanks. Time to watch the game. Actually, maybe I'll do it on this because then I can do those, right? No. Car's already jacked up. Oh, it's jacked up all right. It's funny, I kind of wish, like, how's that? How am I showing you that? God, I'm an idiot. I don't exactly know why she buys this garbage. Regular screw, whoops. 5 gallon, oh yeah, 5 gallon. Doing it outside and the wind's blowing, there's more of a chance of like stuff getting into places where you don't want it to get into, and that's the engine. We checked the oil, just water splash. Maybe it could. This item, you know what? I guess just affix that. Just go ahead and close the door so you don't have to listen to that light.